I'd literally exploded, and there were still bits of gore dripping off the ship walls, and Narancia on the ceiling and Poochie on the floor were both gaping at me, covered in blood. But my body was back to normal, totally uninjured. Cars was still laughing.
"You really don't think things through,"
he said. The discs were in his hand, so he must have taken them out of my head, but he put my body back together before I died. I guess the ultimate thing viewed me as a sort of flesh doll made of bits of bone and blood that he could easily put back together again if anything happened. I was rather grateful he'd let me survive my careless death. Thanks, Cars. Can I ask how? I'm pretty sure I was totally dead there.
"Flesh is a vessel, and the soul is like ice cream inside. If the vessel breaks, the soul momentarily retains its form. I merely reassembled the vessel before the soul melted away."
I think we just casually answered the question, what is life?
"That was never a question."
Okay, but was my ice cream okay? Didn't spill any?
"I do not fail, and I've already removed the 36 souls from the extra me's, so I have experience. But my experience also tells me you've already died a number of times."
Huh?
"If we extend the ice cream analogy, if you melt ice cream and refreeze it, it doesn't quite taste the same as it did. The texture changes. Understood?"
Yeah.
"It's exactly like that."
So I felt like I was dying? Several different times?
And your emotional reaction to that damages your soul. I suppose it's possible.
When you turned the extra cars into fuel and ship parts, did their feelings damage their souls?
I sense nothing like that. The extra me's gave me their lives, and I simply took them.
Oh, okay. There's no point in arguing amongst yourself?
We are the ultimate thing, and there is no discord among us. We all understand everything, and I did not throw out the souls I removed. They now form a part of me.
Did you lick them like ice cream, eating them?
The ice cream is a metaphor, fool. Are you really human? What happened to your ability to make sense of things?
You sure are smart, Cars.
You're merely far too stupid. I can't believe you've descended from that crafty Jorge Joestar.
Well, I am adopted, but I let that be. Grandpa Joseph had definitely taught me a lot. I'd grown up in the Joestar household, so this was pathetic. I was supposed to be a detective, but he kept saying I wasn't thinking enough and was being far too stupid, and he was absolutely right about it. My mind was starting to clear. I have to do better, I said, mostly to myself. Blood was pumping through my brain. I'm Jorge Joestar, the detective Jojo. So I had to think, damn it. The situation was so oppressive my brain was withering and not working properly. Do your job, brain! Everything about this mess was beyond anything I'd previously experienced. But I'd always been surprised by all kinds of things before. I'd always overcome surprise and new experiences by thinking really hard. If I was really a detective, then I'd outwit this case too. Even if I couldn't believe in myself, I had faith in my wits. You're right, Cars, I said. I remember who I am. Cars was watching me intently. I think deeper and broader than anyone else around.
That's right,
Cars said.
But do you really understand the true nature of what Sukumajuku called the beyond?
I truly believe there is meaning in my meeting you like this. Sukumajuku had smiled. Everything has meaning. Of course there was meaning in the fact that I'd met Cars here. Even someone as overwhelming as him was a necessary element for me to perform my role as detective. I nodded. You're cool with that? Cars smiled.
I have no desire to be the leading man.
Cars was completely down with the theme Sukumajuku had brought us. His intelligence was blinding, and thanks to Cars I was finally emotionally ready to step into the gears of the world, with a healthy clank. I had Cars prepare a reduced power version of the stand discs for me, and placed one in my head. I first inserted a small-sized version of Das Boot Cars Edition, and found the second disc wouldn't go in. Rohan had mentioned that there was a rule, only one stand per person. Obviously Cars was the exception, but that was fine. Das Boot was more useful to me than White Snake at the moment. Cars, how long till we reach Earth?
Another 15 minutes.
Huh? We're that close already?
and it seems I've run out of time to eat you all. But I wasn't bored. Don't worry, there'll be plenty of food back on Earth.
I really wasn't worried. How did our 6-month journey turn into 4 hours?
I don't completely understand it myself, but it seems this astronaut stand has some effect on the flow of time.
White Snake did. It didn't just take standard memory disks? Whatever. Cars, how much fuel do we have left?
As calculated. Just enough.
We'll slow down before entry, right? Can we let some of it outside the ship for a moment when that happens?
For a moment, yes. Do as you please.
But that fuel was extra cars, wasn't it? As I thought that, Cars said,
One always rules all. The other me's know that.
That's why the other 36 didn't hesitate to let original Cars turn them into fuel and spaceship parts. I looked up at Narancia, who was still gaping at me, the pebble phone forgotten in his hand. He hang up already? Huh? Ah! He quickly put it to his ear again. Tch! He hung up! You had to go and blow up all of a sudden. Scared the shit out of me. You okay, dude? Sorry, I'm fine. You're fine, my ass. Jesus. Narancia, the American army's about to attack Morioh and Nero Island. I'd like to prevent that. Yeah, that's boot, right? Run out on the car's fuel and boom, boom, boom. Let's do this shit. As out of it as he'd seemed, he was clearly following along perfectly well. He wasn't a ranking gangster for nothing. We're almost at Earth. We're still alive. The tough part's still ahead. I turned to Cars. Can you let Narancia down? Cars waved a hand and Narancia was released. Woohoo! Freedom! I turned to the only actual astronaut on the ship. Poochie, we're almost at Earth.
Yeah.
He staggered to his feet and moved to the pilot seat. He picked up the comm device made from bits of the Jotos, glanced back at Cars a minute, and opened the channel.
Houston, this is Lieutenant Enrico Pucci. Houston, do you read me?
There was a crackle over the radio, and an answer.
This is Houston. This is Pucci, you said? Why are you transmitting on Joto's frequency?
Because I'm on the Joto.
Who's with you? Where's Funnier?
Funnier's dead. Soundman and Pocoloco, too. Funnier killed them. Tell the president there will be an accounting for this crime.
Calm down, Pucci.
I've never been more calm in my life.
Where's Cars?
He's here.
Okay, we've just pinpointed your location. That isn't just one Joto you're on. We've got the size fit on our monitors. It's big and fast, like something out of Star Wars. Are you controlling that alone?
I don't need to control anything. This thing is made from Cars' own flesh. Tell us the plan to get back to you.
Okay. Ready to hear it?
The only reason they had a plan that fast is if they'd already prepared it a long time ago. They were ready for anything. The only difference was the passengers involved. As Pucci and the NASA director hashed out the details, we got closer to Earth. It was growing visibly larger outside our window. Ha! Ha ha ha! Earth! Narancia yelled, slapping me on the shoulder. We're home, buddy! We're home. I was relieved as well, but now he had to fight. Cars was looking at Earth, surprised by the vast expanse of blue.
This is the Earth. Why is there less land?
I wonder what the Earth looked like before the universe died 36 times. Then it occurred to me that maybe I already knew, and I showed Cars the world map Sukamajuku and I had exchanged.
This is the world I knew,
Cars said. Sukamajuku had come from the same universe as original Cars. It all connected. What you're seeing now is the ocean. Panlandia just happens to be on the other side of the planet at the moment.
It's like a water vessel,
Cars said. There was a funk behind us, and I turned to find Pucci staring at Cars. Was he stunned or exalted? He looked as if he'd been so surprised he was about to start laughing. What was he thinking? The spaceship slowed down, and Cars moved over to the pilot seat, stopped Pucci's headset, and said,
Lord Cars is ready to return. Is the party ready?
The fact that Cars appeared to be excited made him extra frightening, and Narancia and I both got very quiet. He tossed the headset back to Pucci and turned to us.
Apparently we can see our landing site from the window right now. There are 2 islands stacked on top of each other, crossing the ocean, and they're in our way, so they're going to get rid of them.
Narancia and I both went to the window and stared down at the round ball of water. The ocean was vast, and Morioh and Nero Island were too small and too far for our human eyes to make out. I can't see! I can't see! Narancia yelped. Sakaz came up behind him, pushed his fingers into the back of his head, pressed a switch somewhere in his head and adjusted his vision. Narancia immediately said, "Oh, there it is! I can see it! Shit! Shit! There's smoke and fire everywhere! What the fuck? It's like a goddamn war zone!" "Kaz," I said. "The fuel, please." Kaz pulled his hand out of Narancia's head and nodded. Black liquid began bubbling out of the ship outside the window. Living fuel, heading towards Earth. "Narancia, let's do this. Support fire for Morioh and Nero Island." "Oh, yeah! Come on, George! Kill the fuck out of anyone threatening my gang!" I grabbed the pebble phone and called Chiabana. "Hello? It's Jorge Joestar. We're in orbit. We're going to fire some missiles down at the Americans, so make sure the villagers and islanders are out of the way. And the standmasters. Ordinary citizens are already evacuated. All standmasters will be under Nero Island in the next few minutes. Fire away." "Roger. But please, try to save as many American wounded as possible." "Naturally. Fortunately, there are no injured parties from either island yet, so the people are still amenable." "Good. Commencing attack." "Roger. Thanks." I hung up and turned to Narancia. "Heard that? We aren't killing them. We're disabling their weaponry. Your boss agrees." "Fuck it then," Narancia grumbled. He pulled out his headset periscope, so I pulled my own out too. It was just as Kaz said. I didn't know the specifics of the full range of abilities, but I instinctively knew how to control Das Boot. "Let's fucking go, George!" Narancia yelled. "Fuck yeah!" I shouted back. "Come on, Narancia! Rock and roll! Dive, dive, dive!" Our DOS boot surfaced outside the ship, running across the surface of the ejected fuel, leaving 1 or 2 ships inside ourselves, just in case. We both gathered our fleets into one giant submarine each, firing very big missiles. "All gates open!" Narancia ordered. I opened the hatches on every torpedo and cruise missile I had. "I'm going for the units on the east. You go for the west, George!" I checked my targets in the periscope. "All locked on. All missiles ready," I said. "Fire!" Narancia screamed. I did. Book sound effects, not mine. 24 torpedoes spread across the fuel, and 32 cruise missiles were headed up into space, and every single one of them headed straight for the Earth. They entered the atmosphere. Real missiles would have burned up on Reentry like meteors, but Stans didn't care about physics. They shot towards the 2 islands at almost exactly the same speed as they'd moved through outer space. Boom, 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 boom. We hit every helicopter and battle shield the Navy had posted around Morioh all at once. We hadn't armed the detonators, so none of them exploded. We just needed to defang them. "Fucking boring," Narancia moaned. We fired a second wave. This one hit the landing craft as they approached the shore, and the ships stationed in the harbour. Boom, 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 boom. Once again, no explosions, just robbing the sinks of the ships of their military capabilities. "Oh shit, one's about to sink," Narancia chuckled. "Knock that off. Chiabana promised Pashon people would help the rescue efforts." "Don't let Jono know, George." "We're about to start our descent," Poochie said, interrupting our celebration. "Pull your stads back." The ship had been moving towards Reentry this whole time, so while we'd been looking through the periscopes, we moved quite far away from Morioh and Nero Island, and the 2 islands had vanished over the crest of the planet. "One more!" Narancia yelled, and as his DOS boot retreated, it fired a hail of missiles at the satellite weapons. Boom! These exploded. When I looked shocked, Narancia shrugged. "What? They're unmanned. Having that shit up in space is scary." But now they were space debris, and that would cause problems later. But for now, fuck it. Our dust boots rejoined the ship, and we controlled orbiting the Earth, gradually descending. "Brace yourselves," Poochie said. "We're going in." Not that he was controlling the ship or anything. "Let's go," I said. Narancia joined in. "Go! Back to Earth!" Just before we hit the atmosphere, the pebble phone rang. Narancia answered. "Huh? What? Be ready. Now's not a good time. The ship was starting to shake, but all of the racket I could just make out the voice on the other end of the line. We found the bodies of Diavolo and Morioh's serial killer, Kira Yoshikage, together. Somebody took both of them out. We don't know anymore yet. Huh? Kira Yoshikage? They'd been taken out. So Diavolo and Kira were both dead? Already? Both of them. A mafia boss and a serial killer. Wasn't that good news? I thought, but no, it wasn't. Diavolo and Kira were, in theory, the ones moving the islands. If they were both dead, neither one of them could move, and the ship with us and cars on it was falling, and standmasters are drawn together. Standmasters are drawn together. I shouted at the pebble phone in Narancia's hand. Tell everyone on the island to run for it! A spaceship's about to crash on top of them! But the phone hung up, and I wasn't sure if he'd heard me or not. Narancia and I looked at each other. We might survive landing in the water, but we'd almost certainly die if we crashed into land. The ship was wrapped in fire, and the extra cars were burning up, vanishing without so much as a scream. To slow our descent, we spread our wings, and by the time we were through the crowds, the fire had vanished, and we could see Nero Island and Morioh at the front window. Nero Island was standing on 6 legs on top of Morioh. This was where we died, but cars would probably survive. Sorry, Narancia, I said. You would never have gone to Mars if you weren't with me. Tsukumajuku had brought both of us, and it did have meaning. Thanks, I said. If you hadn't been there, I'd never have seen the Earth again. Tears in his eyes, Narancia said. You gotta make a big deal about it? I hate sappy shit. I laughed, closed my eyes, and wondered who I should be thinking of in my last moments. But inside my brain just started jumping from Tsukumajuku's arrival to entering Morioh to going to Mars, leaping randomly around different scenes from this adventure, and I found myself mildly impressed by how amazing it had all been. I opened my eyes long enough to confirm that the ship was definitely headed directly at Morioh. Poochie was watching the same scene through the other window. So this is the Rhinoceros, Beetle, he said. Our ship was headed right for the Arrow Cross house, and when he saw the ship off the roof, Poochie cried out happily, And that's the Via Dolorosa! Rhinoceros Beetle. Via Dolorosa. Those were 2 of the 14 words carved into the back of the Jojo plate. Via Dolorosa equals the way of suffering, the last road Jesus Christ walked, dragged past the townsfolk, carrying his cross on his back. It was also called the Via Crucis, the way of the cross. As we were falling upside down, the Arrow Cross was at our backs, and the spaceship with us and cars on it crashed directly into the Arrow Cross, and the shock of the impact knocked Nero off Morioh, and flipped Morioh upside down. And as if there had always been another upside down island underneath Morioh, where Morioh flipped, another island rose from the sea. A massive island, 900 times the size of Morioh, that forced the water out away from it. But the American battleships and aircraft carriers were just rocked a little, the wave passing without further incident. The 219,850 kilometre square island that appeared out of nowhere was one no one in our world had ever heard of. Great Britain. The mythical England. When I'd stepped off the train in Morioh and looked at the map of the town, it had seemed familiar. Just before we hit, I'd seen it from the sky and remembered that feeling. Had I been here before? That was all in my head. I'd just been remembering the map of the world Tsukumajuku had drawn for me and recognised the shape of England. But since it had been backwards, I hadn't recognised it. I hate saying that I'm only human, but I clearly had to work on my observation skills. If I'd worked harder, maybe I'd have survived. End of chapter 12. Don't worry, guys. Joji's still alive. There's still like 4 chapters left of the book. So, I mean, they wouldn't just kill him off. Whatever.